You're tuned in to the world of Tom, where you catch all the facts and stay connected with Tom Lane.
Program.
I know a lot of times.
Look at you. You look all cute. Okay.
But they do too. If you let them think that they have full control and autonomy over your body, they will take. You give them an inch, they're gonna take a mile. We really have to do a lot of front work. We have to make our providers aware, like, I am holding you accountable. I want to know what your philosophy is behind birth. And if it does not align with what I believe my birth should look like, I know I need to move on. Absolutely. And I think that's also that's a tough one that I find in a lot of like my younger clients who are having their first baby. Like when we talk about transferring service or going to a different provider because they aren't happy with the level of care that they're getting, they're like, oh no, I couldn't do that. And I'm like, yes, you can. Like, yes, you can. Like, this could be a life or death situation. Like, and there are times where I really have to like sit down with people and be like, I know your doctor didn't tell you that low iron wasn't that big of a deal, but baby,
it is.
Your iron needs to be much higher. Like 9 is not cutting it. Like you have like, there's just certain things that providers just play down. They just play it down because they're like, we'll just give her a shot for this or give her a shot for that. And it's like, no, we can do pre-work ahead of time. And if your provider isn't with that mindset, with that philosophy, you'll never know your options.
For real.
That's some education for you. Okay. How expensive is it to have a doula? I mean, can you get a doula on Medicaid or only? Oh, I'm sorry to laugh.
It's okay.
But even when I wrote out the question, I started laughing. Like, I didn't know if you could get a doula or a midwife on Medicaid, because if I get women's health Medicaid, when I have my next baby, I'm definitely getting it on Medicaid all day.
I would definitely say here, so doulas used to be covered on insurance a long time ago, and now they aren't. There has been a lot of work being done on the Hill of DC to see how that can be changed, of course. But right now, I mean, there's a range, people tend to set their prices however they feel. And people, they do payment plans. Some people choose to do it for free. I think it's definitely programs out there that will help women to be supported. When it comes to being able to freely choose who you want your doula to be, that's where you might have a few barriers as to, in regards to pay. But I always recommend mamas and family members to put that on your birth registry. It's just as important. Or have a separate shower. Like I know for me, I do mommy showers or blessing way ceremonies for mamas. And I tell them, the people that you invite to your blessing way ceremony, let them know what you want. And I always say for the guests to come with a gift. And I remind them, hey, there's no better gift than the gift of support. So if you know that you probably the best cook in your family, then yes, come on, make some meals for the first 6 weeks. Or if you probably can't cook, you ain't got time to watch no baby or to come by the house, put $20 in her postpartum doula fund and let a postpartum doula do her job. And it's a lot, even though people look at nannies as a privilege, as, that you're affluent, but not realizing like we're in a different day and age. People put a lot of like pressure on their family members to show up, because of the current state of our society. We aren't able to. Everybody isn't able to come by the house and stop by and sit for 3 hours or whatever. Right. But there are other opportunities or tools that you can put in your toolbox to help support you. And that's the postpartum doula. That's the doula. If you know that somebody won't stay up at the hospital with you, when you got pregnant, even if you got pregnant and you found out at 3 months, okay, you got a few more months to where you can save up, whether you ask people, instead of buying my baby this, put some money in my doula fund. You know what I'm saying? And do it that way because you need support. Like, I understand your baby need clothes, Pampers. When I always tell my clients, there is so many programs that will give you free Pampers, so many programs that give you free Pampers, and I give them that stuff. Then I say, now before this, you need somebody to help you. Let's talk about all of this support that you need surrounded around you so you can make sure that you thrive. Because if you're not thriving, then how your family going to thrive? You know, you're going to feel off. And you're not going to feel like you're the best mom. Because, of course, we as women, our nurturing instinct, if we don't feel like we're putting forth 100,000%, then we feel like we're inadequate. And that's a whole nother topic to address. But, you know, so just making sure that if you know that you need to pay for a doula, think about that as soon as you get pregnant. You know, like, all right, cool. I know I need to put some money to the side. Or if you got a cousin that you know that had 12 babies, hey, cuz, can you come support me in this? What I need to know, you know, what things I need to ask my doctor? What negative experiences have you had? How can I make sure that I don't go through that? You know, it's having those hard conversations. Yeah, it's scary. So if you know that your family member's not going to talk to you about it, get you a doula, because the doula going to be like, so let's talk about it. Like, yeah, okay, the glitz and glams is amazing, but let's really like break this down and really talk about this over the course of your pregnancy. So then when you get in that delivery room, you're not surprised, you know, or you can push back when you know you don't want a fetal heart monitor, or when you know you don't want to be, you don't want your Pitocin to go up and you want to finish laboring on your own, even if you did get an induction, you know, but you will never know that because people think that having a doula is a luxury. And meanwhile, our white counterparts have all of this stuff. Culturally, we are used to our village. Yeah. So, of course, we are depending on our village, period. So we know, like, okay, I ain't going to need no doula because I got my cousins. I got my aunties. I got my sisters. But as a doula, I always have to remind them, like, look, sometimes people don't come through. Or sometimes people want to help and they don't know how to help you the way you need it. Right. So, yeah, you want your cousin. Your cousin says she's going to come by, but your cousin's tired. And she also got 3 kids of her own. She don't want to bring the 3 kids over with you because you already got a baby that's crying. So how do you navigate that situation? You know, so it's really telling women, like, you really have these different tools that you can utilize. And we just got to reframe our mind about what support looks like. And it's not going to always come from our blood. You know, it's going to come from the different tools and services that we have in our community.
It's like, really be out there with it and let them, you know what's going on and what it is that you're trying to do, because this can be a life or death choice. Yeah. Like, and that's, I mean, it's grim, but that's the reality of it.
You have to know where your support is. So if you know that you have your mom and you know your mom a nurse, I know the mamas that I done worked with who moms or a nurse, they going to be on it 100%. But they also may be more towards believing the doctor and the nurses more so than hearing their child or whatever. And so it's really just having that third wheel, so to speak, to be able to help you navigate it with an unbiased opinion. So as a doula, it's like, look, here's all your information. Here's all of the questions that you ask me. Even as, you know, I don't know everything. And if you ask me a clinical question, I'll ask you, have you talked to your doctor about this? All right, well, before you talk to your doctor, let's talk about how we're going to navigate this conversation. If they say yes, if they say no, if they dismiss you, when you going to give them 2 weeks notices so you can go to somebody else. I done definitely had a mama leave at 39 weeks and find another doctor, and they welcomed her with open arms, and she had her VBAC. So it's like, you know what I mean? Have them empower our community to know, like, no, this is your birth. Yeah, there's health things that might come up, and we'll address that when they come. And be preventative in those efforts as well. But otherwise, you have full autonomy over how your birth should look and who should be there.
And I think that that's what a lot of us women lack. We don't know that we have so much control over our own experience and how it can go for us to meet our needs. Like you said, you know, I don't think there's a lot. I didn't know that. I didn't know as to how much power I had to say, no, I don't want that, you know, or I don't want this, you know. I didn't know. I thought, you know, if they offered it, you take it. I mean,
yeah. And you know what's crazy? Like right now, so our oldest, she's 8, and our child underneath her, he's 7, and so, and the 5-year-old, so they're all kind of in that age range where we're talking to them about their body, and we're talking to them about like, don't let people touch you in these areas, and these areas are called X, Y, and Z. And it's so funny because, like you just said, as women, we struggle with knowing that we have complete control and autonomy in those situations. But it's so funny because, like, I will hear my kids in their room singing, like, who's the boss of your body? Me. I'm the boss of my body.
Come on, Mama,
it's so right. It's so, I just like, I literally will have to tell my clients that, like, I will have to look them in the eye and be like, look, you are the boss of your body.
Exactly.
That is your body. Nobody can do anything to your body that you do not let them. And if they do, that's assault.
Right.
Like, and that's just that's the black and white of it. And I think that that's really, there's so much fear and so much unknown around childbirth that, we're okay with letting go and not having control of the situation. Because one thing I will also say is, like, when you take control of the situation, depending on the setting you're in and depending on your provider, like, they may not take very kindly to that. And there may be other obstacles that come about, but that's how firm you have to be in your desires and wants. So much so that if you feel like you're not getting the care you need, I want to speak to ethics. I want to speak to a patient advocate. I need a new doctor and a new nurse team. Thank you. Document it, please. You have to use, in a certain way, you have to use the system against itself. Like, if there's a patient advocate, they're there. They have to advocate for you, or they have to hear you out. But a lot of people don't even know that those positions, even exist.
When you are caring for someone, do you have all of those resources? Like, if they need it, like, as far as, they don't want a certain type of care and they want to change up doctors, do you help them with a list of other alternatives and stuff like that?
I mean, yeah, depending on what they want. Like, I mean, again, like, my role is not to tell them what to do, but if they're like, hey, Keesha, these are my concerns, this is what I'm running into, I'll ask them, like, what do you want to do? These are the things that we can do. You can address it with them. You can find another provider on that team, or you can move medical teams all together. And so just as, and I think Netta will also piggyback on this and say something about this, but as a doula, you know that your clients are going to need resources. So typically you have a library of resources set to the side. So if you have a client who needs a nutritionalist, you probably know somebody who's a nutritionist. If you have a client who needs, if, like, for example, I had a client who her situation was a little bit different in that she wanted a VBAC for her second birth. She was doing an adoption, like, her whole situation, she had a lot going on. And at 39 weeks, she was like, I don't like how my doctors tell me they're going to make me have a C-section. They're going to make me do this, that, and the other. And this lady was a very, like, just in general, like, she was a very, like, this is what I'm doing. She was very firm on what she believed, good, bad, and different. And in this particular situation, it helped her. Like, she transferred doctors at 39 weeks and I think 2 days. She had her baby the day after her due date, and she had her VBAC like she wanted. And the reason vaginal birth after C-section. I want one. And and she took control of her situation. And one thing that I think sometimes that our doctors don't take into consideration when they're C-section happy is that, like, these people have lives that they have to go back to after having a major surgery. And some people don't have the support system that they need to take care of another child, take care of a newborn baby, and be cut in their midsection.
Because it's a struggle. The recovery process is horrible. I felt like I bounced back pretty quick because of the oxys, but other than that, the pain, it was horrible. I had no interest in getting up to do breastfeeding because I was having issues with breastfeeding. So, getting up at 3-4 o'clock in the morning to deal with that. And then the pain, I just didn't have that type of energy. So I didn't feel like I got to really indulge into breastfeeding like I intended, breastfeeding was at the top of my list because I knew that that was something that would help me bond. And I already knew that I probably would have trouble bonding because I had experienced the loss of my mom.
Yeah.
So when I was trying to do that and I was pushing for it, I mean, it seemed to work out smoothly in the hospital. Once I changed environments and I got home, it was hard. I didn't produce as much milk. And then my baby was very greedy. She wanted it in and now. So
She's like, I love that. I love that.
More.
I need that.
But no, you know what? I always like one thing that I sit back and I think, I just think like, you know, COVID obviously has changed the way that a lot of things are happening. Yeah. But I just like one thing I would love to do as a doula is get with other birth workers and really just do like informational community talks about birth and around birth. You know, I don't know that people would even have the wherewithal to be like, you know what, I need to go to that. But we do have to start putting an importance on our birth teams. Like, I can't tell you how many like mom magazines I see, and it's like, what do I need for baby? And there's nothing about a doula in there. All stuff. All stuff.
Yeah.
All stuff.
That's really why I wanted you to, because I see you all on my social media the most, of course, but really pushing your profession. Yeah. So with that, I mean, it just really made me realize that, I mean, we are pushing Black Moms Matter, Black Health Matters, mental health matters, birthing processes matter. But then it's like being on the outside, I don't know why it matters. You know, I mean, I know what I've been told about the history of racism and things like that, but being naive and as young as I am, I'm like with hopes that those things have progressed and gotten better. Right. But then the reality is like, nah, you still face that.
I think also, if you want to kind of like, let's say that you are a person that knows the systemic racism and the biases and all that kind of thing. If you just want to look at it from a support standpoint, as a mom, even if this is your 5th child, it's still a new pregnancy, a new birth. Whoever your partner is, that is also their new experience. You know, if that's even if your family, that's still their new experience. Soon as you have that baby, everybody runs to the baby. Or, you know, while you're pregnant, everybody is wondering what's going on with baby, what's going on with baby. The doula is like, what's going on with mama? Mama, how your mind feeling? You know, have you ate anything? You've been laboring for 12 hours, baby. Take a bite of a sandwich, you know, because dad or partner probably over there asleep. You know what I mean? Or let's say you had a 2-day labor at the hospital. Your partner, your family, I done seen it. Somebody go in, they realize that I'm only at 4 centimeters. It's me and that mama up. You know what I mean? The grandma sleep, the daddy sleep, or the wife sleep. You know what I'm saying? So just having that person, you have a person. Everybody talks about somebody being their person in life. The doula is the person for that mama. You know what I mean? All your fears, if you excited, if you sad, if you hungry, if you're not hungry, if you just need some water, or if you need somebody to tell you to put that hot Cheeto down. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like, they gonna tell you. You know what I mean? Your family members might be like, oh, girl, go ahead and have it. You can have that. But me and you know you working on your high blood pressure. So how about you get a baked chip? You know what I mean? How about you try to make your own potatoes today?
Right.
You know, like,
get you some cayenne pepper.
Having those real conversations. So even outside of the pressures of system, because sometimes that's very overwhelming. I'll just tell people, you need a person. You need a person. Your partner, sometimes they're understand, they'll be there, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes you don't want to share, hey, I'm having this discharge and I don't know why it look like this. Or sometimes you don't want to be felt by your partner. And you need to know that is so normal. It's normal to feel overstimulated. It's normal to not want to have sex towards the end of your pregnancy. And you need somebody to validate you. You need somebody to reassure you that you are normal and you can do whatever the hell you want to do. So
is all this information in prenatal courses, you know, like the prenatal classes, do they explain it in depth?
Probably not the racial aspect, but it depends on where you go. If you go to the hospital, no.
Yeah.
No. But I also want to touch on like the postpartum part too. Like
Yes.
There is like, I will have clients throughout their pregnancy where I talk to them like, look, I offer a postpartum package. Like, you know, I think that you could benefit from it. And I'll offer all that to my clients, but I'll offer it again to the ones who I think show like throughout their pregnancy high factors towards postpartum depression. And, you know, it's so difficult because like people don't understand, like, you can be in that postpartum phase and really just be experiencing social isolation,
Right.
and that makes you sad. And that's, you know, that can be something that leads you to actual like depression.
Yeah.
But like there's so much like social work that goes behind social isolation of like our active older adults, or like our 65 and up, those that are retired. But when we look at like moms who have just had babies, that's not something like, there's not a lot of programs out there for that. Like, and that social isolation piece, it can be like, it can manifest in your relationship with your partner. It can manifest in your relationship with your other family members, because what tends to happen is this mom is at home with this baby, being the sole provider for the baby, nursing or feeding the baby, changing, sleeping, whenever baby sleeps, whatever the case may be. And her partner is able to get up and leave the house whenever they want, able to get up and go to work. Like, who is going to be jealous of going to work? But
still,
after you breastfeed the baby for 16 hours,
you
definitely want to get up out of there at some point. You know? So, and that's a huge piece that like people, like sometimes your partner can't have that discussion with you. I mean, like as somebody who has had multiple births, and I've had an amazing partner at every single one of them, that has always been I always know after I have a baby, we're probably going to have an argument about me feeling isolated, because that's just how it comes out. And, you know, it's a true part about it. And that's where I would definitely say having that doula, especially in that postpartum phase, they know what's happening. They're more aware and understanding. They're able to be that listening ear. Like, yes, tell me, sis, what's going on?
What's up?
Tell me how you didn't get no sleep last night, and how your man just got up, got dressed, and went to work and didn't do anything. Didn't put the toilet seat up. Or you went to go to the bathroom, the baby started crying, and he started talking about, hey, the baby crying. Girl, I know, I can hear.
Like, why can't you get the
what you said, baby?
Been there, okay.
So, you know, and those are real things. But when you have to do it alone or in that isolated state of mind, it's even worse. Like it's hard to have a true grasp on reality. And that's again where that doula can come in and offer you that support. Like, no, girl, you're not crazy. No, you can let him know what you need. Yeah, he can't necessarily feed the baby, but you could be like, hey, I need 30 minutes to go take a shower. Can you chill with the baby? Can you do X, Y, and Z with the baby? Or can you just not come and get me?
Yeah. That's a real feeling. And go back to what you said earlier about a doula being your person, Netta. I feel like that is an important advice to give women, because of the fact that I am an only child. I don't have siblings. So one thing that I know for a fact, when you said that, I faced feeling on one hand that I was selfish for feeling like, what about me? Y'all are all about this baby. Y'all on her, but she can't even talk. She can't say nothing. She's in here just listening and taking it all in. But what about me, who just lost a mom, who literally just had her baby 4 months after the funeral? And then I had this scary experience. You know, they did initially try, you saw the effort to try to put me first, because they know that as far as being the only child. But then, you know, out of just being elders and set in their way, that baby was a priority. And I felt ashamed to feel like, what about me? You know, so to say that, and to say that a doula opens that door to be, okay, I'm about the baby, but I'm about the mom. Your mental health and your mental state right now is what's important. I should have got a doula.
Mhm.
Yeah. And you know, there's this book right now that I'm actually reading called The First 40 Days. I absolutely love
I
it.
love that
I
book.
love this book.
I
Oh
love
my
that book.
God. And I really like, my goal is like, I know, you know, the day and age that we live in and the way that, you know, things have happened, it's
crazy.
harder to have like my older sister, she's pregnant right now. And right now she's not due until 2021, but right now I'm making the adjustments I need to in my life so that I can be there to support her both prior to baby coming and in the postpartum phase. Because one, like, if your little sister's a doula, you would definitely be like, hey sis, come help me out, you're only like 4 hours away, like,
Right.
and I know that she would do the same for me. And so, but not everybody has that ability and the flexibility to do that. And so in that book, The First 40 Days, it literally talks about how, you know, her support system, which was her great aunt, I think, that came up to visit her and took care of her. Like, yes, it was so beautiful. I was like, man, why can't we do that? But again, that goes back to, we have to task each other as a village. Like, sis one day gonna bring this, cousin one day gonna bring this, homegirl one day gonna bring that. Like, and that's really what it has to come down to. Like, and if you don't have that, you definitely need to get a postpartum doula.
Yeah.
I always tell mamas, like, don't set unrealistic expectations for other people, because sometimes we go into pregnancy thinking that everybody gonna be there for us, and that's good. You know, that's good to know that you have a village, but we all, just like you don't want nobody telling you what to do, you can't necessarily be like, oh, well, I know for sure, like, this person's gonna come over because they told me. And it's just like, I always try to get people to understand, like, okay, but if that person don't come, what's back up?
Right.
You know, because things happen. So not even saying like that person is not a good person or they didn't stand up to their word, but more so saying like, okay, what if that person gets sick? Or what if that person emergency happens and they can't come?
Right.
Who else you got? So talking and having those discussions in prenatal sessions, and then also having those in the postpartum sessions, I've seen that has been very helpful. I done had families sit in on prenatal sessions and they saying like, oh, I'll do this, I got you here, I got you here. Then we getting closer to the birth. I'm like, hey, so where's those prepared meals, you know, to put in the freezer? And they're like, oh yeah, I forgot. Ended up making the prepared meals. So the meals was there, but the people weren't. So then it's like, okay, well, I'm glad that we talked about the prepared meals, because what if she didn't have that? So now you don't have people and you don't have food. You know, now you trying to get up and cook food while you wide open. And when I mean wide open, I mean your whole vagina still open, cervix open, all that open. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's just, that's how you get a setback. So now, and you really can't afford to sit down, you know, or go back to the hospital, I would say, because you bleeding, hemorrhaging. So it's like, we as doulas, you've seen it, or you've heard horror stories about people having setbacks or things like that. And so I always go into my sessions like, okay, so who gonna be there for you postpartum? Like, yeah, we can talk about birth and all of that, but who gonna be there for you postpartum? To me, I feel like postpartum is the most sacred part, because you have now grown. You have been birthed as a mama, you know, of one, of two, of three. And you also got a newborn that don't speak a lick of English. So you have to make sure that you are prepared. You know what I mean? That you are grounded and centered to know, if I feel like going crazy, I know my sister gonna come over here and get the baby. If I tell my husband or my wife, I need a minute, I know that they're gonna understand without question. Yeah. But those are the conversations that we have in prenatals. So how do you communicate? Do you do nonverbals, or do you actually say what you need? And then sometimes, like for me, in the first prenatal or the first postpartum session, I'm having those difficult conversations with partners. So I'm saying, how do y'all communicate when y'all don't see eye to eye? And it's usually nonverbals. It's usually like, you know what I mean? So then I'm breaking the ice. You ain't got to do it. I'll break the ice. That way, if something should happen, you already know, okay, well, remember the doula said this. Put it on me. Put it on me. Say the doula said, because I know it's easier for some women to say what the doctor said, the doula said, than for them to say, I feel like, you know? And that ain't gonna come in 2 minutes. You know, that take therapy. And I just learned how to say, hey, I feel like when you do this to me, this makes me feel like this. I just learned that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I know in a whole 10-month period, that's not easy if you ain't already doing it.
No.
So instead, having that conversation first in the postpartum session and saying, look, so mom, how does it work when you feel like you're not getting attention? Dad, how do you feel when baby is always with mom? Because that's sometimes not talked about. Because some dads feel like they don't have a place. So they push themselves into work.
Yeah.
Or they just be like, okay, I'm the provider. And so it's a miscommunication. Both people trying to do their best in a situation, and everybody, no communication is happening, so no needs are being met.
Right.
You know, things are being misconstrued. I done seen relationships almost come to an end because of that. You know, dads have postpartum too.
Right.
That anxiety, and it's just like, oh my God, am I doing enough? And you know,
or am I doing it right?
Right, the mom feeling like, dang, I can't please my husband, or I can't please my mate. Like, it's just so many things, and that doula can break that ice. Go ahead, Keesha. What you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, like, and one of the things that I try to do is I try to sit down. Obviously, it's a little bit more difficult to do this because sometimes my clients don't have a partner, but in all situations, I sit down and we talk about their love language, and we talk about what a love language is and how do they feel supported, and like, how does frustration manifest itself within them? Because when you know what your triggers are, and when you know how it presents itself,
girl, look at you. Oh, you're out here doing it. I'm so proud of you, Ashley. Thank you. Out here.
5 a.m, just the crack of dawn. The sun is almost up, boy, don't take too long. We like 2 shots of Crown smoking on the wallet lawn. I hope this don't go down in vain.
Tom Lane here. If you like this video, feel free to subscribe to this channel. Also, slap on that notification bell so that way you are the first to know when I post new content. Thumbs up your favorite and pass on the way.
Every Thursday with Tom